Raise your hand. Where you have a desire, something happens and it generates a desire. And as soon as you have that desire, it lights you up. It expands you. You feel filled with bliss and with joy. Huh? Have you ever had that? Cool. And who's ever had a desire come up and it comes with contraction and it comes with pain and it comes with craving and it comes with frustration and it comes with perceiving it to not be here? Raise your hand. Right? So often when we talk about desire, that's what we're talking about. But I want to clarify that that's not actually what desire is. So desire is, true desire is bliss. It's literally you doing your job as an extension, as an expression of the one infinite creator. For now, you guys can lower the hands. That's only if you ask questions. Just raise your physical hand if I'm asking a question for feedback. But for now, I'm not answering questions yet. So the team can lower Anki and Guinea's hand icons. Thank you. So no questions yet. What we often call desires, or when we say, okay, desire is the root of all pain, right? That's one of the spiritual statements, a lot in the Enlightenment teaching. It's really a misunderstanding. And I've addressed this many times before in different ways, where I said desire is not the problem. It's the lack of beliefs. It's the lack of vision. It's the lack of possibility that you project that generates suffering. Desire isn't actually a source of suffering. It's how much we oppose that desire that generates the suffering. So if you have a desire that's unrestricted by thoughts, that's unrestricted by limitation, that's unrestricted by lack of beliefs, that's unrestricted by what you believe is possible or not possible, reasonable, not reasonable, doable, not doable, what you believe you're worthy of or not worthy of. Before it reaches the domain of the mental body's self-doubt, before it's personalized, desire itself is actually the expansion of creation. It's actually fulfilling the core desire of the one infinite creator to know itself. That's what desire is. So there's a distinction to be made between desire and craving. And it's very important to keep those distinct. They're very distinct things. Craving is what occurs when you resist a desire. It's not desire itself. You have a desire, which can be an idea. It's an inspiration. It's inspired. Desire is inspired. Now, it can also be motivated by the contrast of your day-to-day experience. Let's say something happens, as Abraham often says, if you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. It's one of their statements. And they actually call that the first step, saying, okay, you're coming into these physical bodies with the purpose of expansion, of joy, of freedom, of growth. And you knew and you know that you were going to be met with a lot of diversity, with a lot of flavors to choose from, with a lot of experiences, with catalyst. And as you go about your day-to-day life and you encounter that catalyst, you encounter that experience, you encounter that diversity, that contrast. And through that contrast, you are going to, as they say, launch rockets of desire. It's one of their other statements. So as you know what you don't, want, you know what you do want. And another way of saying, when you know what does not resonate, what's not why you're here, you also begin to know why you are here. So it's also a clarification. Every time you launch a true inspired desire, it's also a clarification of why you're here and who you are meant to become. What is your process of becoming? What is, in a sense, in your blueprint? What was your intention before you came into these physical vehicles? What was/is your intention for being here? And through the contrast, you sift through that, through your day-to-day experiences, and you become clearer and clearer and clearer on what it is that you are, who it is that you are, who you are here to become, and what would expand upon the universe in the most glorious possible way. What would expand upon the one infinite creator's desire to know itself in a way that's uniquely channeled through your unique fractal of this infinite creation. So desires need to be understood and valued in a new light if we want to take this to the next level, if we want to take our creatorship to the next level, if we want to take our self-knowledge to the next level. So far, does this make sense? Just nod if it makes sense. All right. So ironically, okay, suffering actually happens when you don't act on your desires. And when you don't act on your desires, It's not even so much about acting on them. It's more about aligning with them, agreeing with them or not agreeing with them. When you disagree with your own desires, when you put lack beliefs in its way, this is when you contract. This is when you cut yourself off from your true self. This is when the emotional guidance system starts kicking in, letting you know, you're believing something that your inner being doesn't agree with. You're agreeing with something. You're perceiving something in a way that God doesn't perceive in that way. And your unique blueprint doesn't match up with in that way. So when you do that, when you contract, which is the result of contradicting yourself, contradicting your own desire for expansion, your own desire for desire, then that contraction leads to emotional suffering, catalyst. And if that is not properly addressed quickly enough, it turns into frustration, it turns into depression, it turns into cravings. So cravings are desires that you've disagreed with that then turn into cravings. So cravings are like the evil little brother, if you will, or sister of desire. It's because we've distorted desire. So desire plus lack and limitation breeds a whole new category of desire, which would be more accurately called cravings. Does this make sense? When you contradict your inner flow, your own energy, the desire to expand, the desire to create, the desire to know more of who you are, the desire to become, if you contradict this powerful flow that you came here with, that flow powerful enough to give birth to you, if you contradict that with societal ideas, with limiting beliefs, with self-esteem issues, then that's going to produce this stinky little pond of non-flow where you're not in alignment with this ever forward expanding movement of creation. And then the result is you're going to be filled with cravings. Those are distracting. Those are painful. Those are unfulfilled desires. But it really all begins when you contradict what you want, when you mistrust what you desire, when you put into your own pathway ideas of limitation or unworthiness. That's when the emotional guidance system kicks in, doesn't it? Right away. So I want us to reappreciate desire as the blissful energy of expansion, of the creator coming up with an idea about itself through you, through your experience with the contrast of everyday life. And in contact with that contrast, it launches a new idea. That literally, energetically, immediately, that's already the expansion of the universe right there. When you figure out what you want, when you figure out what's true for you, when you figure out what you desire, when you figure out why you're here, even if it's just a small moment, something happens, you don't like it, and therefore, you're producing more of what you do want. You're adding to that field, to that vortex, as they call it. The clarity, the statement, the declaration of your expansion. You are expanding through knowing what you don't want, and therefore automatically knowing what you do want, even if it's not fully conscious. So that adds to this vortex. And it actually, a couple of days ago, I went deeply into this, and I actually had direct experience of an as the vortex, as they call it. So not just hypothetically or conceptually or intellectually or even as an intuition, but I actually was what they call the vortex. But I'll get to that in a little bit. But basically, you cannot contradict this energy unless you want to suffer, unless that's your idea of expansion, going against everything. But even that is part of the expansion. There's literally nothing you could do that could go against this movement. There's literally nothing you could do that could go against this flow.